Rain streaked the windows of Emily Harper's downtown Seattle loft, blurring the neon glow of the city skyline. She collapsed onto her threadbare couch, the springs creaking under her weight, her body aching from a brutal 12-hour shift. As a cybersecurity analyst at Nexus Tech, she'd spent the day battling a ransomware attack that threatened to cripple a client's financial database. Her eyes burned from staring at code, her fingers cramped from typing, and her mind buzzed with the adrenaline of outsmarting hackers who demanded a 7-figure payout. She'd won, but victory felt hollow in the dim light of her cramped apartment, where the scent of instant coffee and damp laundry lingered. Her phone, tossed onto the coffee table cluttered with takeout containers and a half-dead succulent, buzzed once, then twice. Emily groaned, assuming it was her boss Derek with another crisis. She grabbed the device, her cracked screen glowing with a text from her younger sister Claire. The message was short, casual, like it was dashed off between Claire's endless selfies and smoothie bowls. "Hey, finalized the wedding guest list. Had to make cuts. You're not on it. Sorry, love ya." Emily blinked, her thumb hovering over the screen. The words didn't compute. She read them again, then a third time, each syllable slicing deeper. Claire, her only sister, the one she'd carried through every crisis, was getting married in 3 weeks at a sprawling vineyard outside Seattle, and Emily, the one who'd bankrolled Claire's influencer career, who'd driven across town at 2 a.m. to pick her up from a club when her Uber canceled, who'd paid her $5,000 0-cents credit card debt when her sponsorships tanked. Emily wasn't invited. Her chest tightened, a mix of shock and hurt bubbling up like a storm. This had to be a mistake. Claire was flighty, sure, but this was a gut punch. Emily's hands shook as she scrolled through their text history, a one-sided archive of her playing the reliable big sister. "Need help with your Instagram hack? I'm on it. Car broke down, be there in 20. Can you cover my rent this month? Promise I'll pay you back." Claire never paid her back, not in money or gratitude. But Emily had always swallowed it, telling herself family came first. The loft felt smaller now, the walls closing in as the rain hammered harder. She thought of the nights she'd stayed up debugging Claire's hacked Instagram account, restoring her precious 200,000 followers while Claire sobbed about losing brand deals. She remembered the hours spent driving Claire to therapy after her public meltdown at an influencer event, when a viral video of her screaming at a waiter had cost her a makeup contract. Emily had been there, always, stitching Claire's life back together while her own unraveled. And now this text had to make cuts, like Emily was some distant cousin or a coworker Claire barely liked. She dialed her mother Diane, her fingers trembling. Diane answered on the third ring, her voice bright and distracted, like she was flipping through a magazine or sipping her nightly Chardonnay. "Hey, sweetie, what's up?" "Mom, did you see Claire's text?" Emily's voice cracked, betraying the calm she was trying to project. "I'm not invited to her wedding. What's going on?" A long pause. Too long. Then a sigh, the kind Diane used when she thought Emily was overreacting. "Oh, honey, it's just a wedding. Don't take it personally. They had to keep the guest list small." "Small?" Emily's voice rose, sharp and raw. "Mom, I saw Claire's Instagram. She's got 250 people on that list. Her Pilates coach is invited, her PR team, some reality star from that dumb dating show, but not me, her sister." Another pause. Diane's tone turned patronizing, like she was soothing a child. "Well, you know how weddings are. They're expensive. Claire and Ryan had to make tough choices." "Tough choices?" Emily let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "I paid for Claire's car repairs last month. I covered her electric bill when she was broke. I stayed up all night talking her through her last breakup, and now I'm not good enough to sit in the back row?" "You're blowing this out of proportion," Diane said, her voice hardening. "It's one day. Don't make it a big deal." One day. Like it was just a random Tuesday. Like being excluded from her only sister's wedding wasn't a knife to the heart. Emily's throat tightened, but she refused to cry. Not over this. "You're okay with this?" she asked, quieter now, hoping for a shred of support. "Emily, stop," Diane snapped. "Claire's under a lot of stress. You know how she is. Be the bigger person like always." The words stung, echoing a lifetime of being told to suck it up, to keep the peace, to let Claire's chaos slide. Emily hung up without another word, her head spinning. She wasn't going to beg to be included, not this time. For years she'd been the reliable sister, the one who fixed everything. Claire had forgotten her birthday 3 years running, and Emily had let it slide with a forced smile. She'd called at 1 a.m. when her car broke down, and Emily had driven across Seattle's slick streets to get her. Diane had always backed Claire, telling Emily to be the bigger person, to keep the family together. But this was a new low. The rain outside turned to a downpour, thunder rumbling in the distance. Emily's gaze fell on a photo pinned to her fridge, her and Claire at a Seahawks game 2 years ago, grinning in matching jerseys. She'd bought the tickets, of course, dipping into her savings for Claire's birthday. Claire had posted the photo with the caption, "Best sis ever." The memory felt like a lie now. She opened Instagram, scrolling through Claire's curated feed. The wedding plans dominated, a vineyard draped in fairy lights, a custom gown from a designer in LA, a 5-tier cake that probably cost more than Emily's monthly rent. The guest list was a who's who of Claire's influencer world. Fitness gurus, makeup artists, even a guy who went viral for skateboarding with his dog. But no Emily. No mention of the sister who'd been her rock. A memory hit her, sharp and vivid. Claire's 30th birthday gala at a rooftop bar in Belltown. Emily had spent weeks planning it, picking the menu, sending invites, even covering the $2,000 0-cents venue deposit when Claire's bank account was overdrawn. She'd been so excited to celebrate, picturing them dancing under the stars, toasting to Claire's milestone. But the night before, Claire had called, her voice breezy and casual. "Hey, we're keeping it intimate, so we're only inviting a few people, you get it, right?" Emily had been stunned, her heart sinking. "I planned the whole thing," she'd said, her voice small. "I paid the deposit." Claire had laughed, like it was no big deal. "Your family, Em. You don't need to be at every party. I'll make it up to you." She never did. Emily had spent that night alone in her loft, eating ramen and scrolling through Claire's Instagram stories. Photos of Claire with her friends, her co-workers, even her dog walker, all clinking champagne flutes and laughing. Emily had pretended she was fine, but the hurt had lingered, a quiet ache she'd buried under her family's expectations. Now, staring at Claire's wedding text, the ache roared back, louder and sharper. This wasn't just a snub. It was a pattern, Claire taking her for granted, Diane excusing it, and Emily expected to smile and move on. She thought of another moment, months ago, when she'd been at Claire's sleek condo in Capitol Hill, helping stuff save the date cards. Claire's fiancé, Ryan, a hedge fund manager with a slick smile and a Rolex, had been there, grumbling about costs. Emily had been in the living room folding envelopes when she overheard them in the kitchen. "We need to cut the list," Ryan had said, his voice low but clear. "It's getting out of hand." Claire had sighed. "Fine, but I'm not cutting my friends. What about your cousins?" Ryan had hesitated. "What about your sister? She's always around. She'll understand." Emily's heart had stopped, her fingers freezing on the card in her hand. Claire hadn't even paused. "Yeah, you're right. She won't make a big deal out of it. Let's keep my yoga group instead." The words had burned, each one a confirmation of her place in their world, disposable, invisible, a footnote in Claire's glittering life. Emily had slipped out that day before they noticed she'd heard, her face hot with shame. She'd hoped Claire would change her mind, invite her anyway. But the text on her phone now proved she hadn't. Claire had chosen her yoga buddies, her influencers, her reality star, over the sister who'd given everything. Emily's hands shook as she set the phone down. The loft was silent except for the rain, but her mind screamed with a truth she couldn't ignore. Her family didn't value her. Not Claire, not Deanne, not even her extended relatives who'd probably nod along with Claire's decision. She'd spent years being the fixer, the one who smoothed over Claire's messes, who kept Deanne's fragile ego intact. She'd sacrificed her own dreams, trips she never took, promotions she didn't chase, a life she hadn't lived, to be there for them. And for what? To be cut from a guest list like an afterthought? She stood, pacing the small loft, her boots scuffing the worn hardwood. The hurt was shifting, hardening into something new. Anger. Not the quiet kind she'd swallowed for years, but a fierce, burning resolve. She wasn't going to let them make her feel small again. She deserved better. She deserved to be seen, to be valued, and if her family wouldn't do that, she'd do it herself. Her laptop sat on the kitchen counter, its screen dark. She flipped it open, the glow illuminating her face as she typed furiously. She wasn't going to sit in this rainy city moping while Claire partied with 250 of her closest friends. She wasn't going to wait for an apology that would never come. She was done waiting for someday. Within minutes, she was on a travel site, her cursor hovering over a deal for a luxury resort in Maui, Hawaii. All-inclusive, oceanfront suite, spa treatments, the works. It was the kind of trip she'd always told herself was too extravagant, her savings earmarked for emergencies, usually Claire's. But tonight, those savings were hers. She booked it, her heart racing as the confirmation email pinged. A week in paradise, starting the day of Claire's wedding. No family drama, no guilt trips, just her and the ocean. She leaned back, a small smile breaking through the hurt. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of freedom. Then her work email chimed, an unusual sound this late. She opened her inbox, expecting a follow-up from Derek about the ransomware case. Instead, it was an encrypted message from an unknown sender, the subject line blank. She hesitated. Her cybersecurity instincts screamed phishing. But curiosity won. She decrypted it using her firm's software, and the message was short, chilling. "You're in danger. Don't trust your family." Her pulse spiked. The email had no signature, no traceable origin, just a string of random characters in the metadata. She ran a quick scan, but it came up clean. Probably spam, she told herself, or a prank from a rival hacker group. But the words lingered, sinking into the raw wound of Claire's text. She shook it off, closing the laptop. She had a flight to catch, a life to reclaim. Whatever this was, it could wait. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur. Emily threw herself into work, fortifying Nexus Tech's servers and training her team for the next attack. She didn't tell anyone about Claire's snub, not even her cousin Jake, the only family member she trusted. She packed her suitcase in secret, folding sundresses and a new swimsuit she'd splurged on, each item a small act of defiance. The night before Claire's wedding, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling as the rain tapped her windows. Part of her wanted to call Claire, to demand answers, to hear her say it was a mistake. But she didn't. She'd spent too long chasing Claire's approval. Tomorrow she'd chase her own. The morning of the wedding, Seattle was gray and damp, the kind of day that made you question why anyone lived here. Emily stood at SeaTac Airport, her boarding pass for Maui in hand. First class, another splurge she didn't regret. She wore a linen blazer and sunglasses, her dark hair pulled into a loose bun, feeling like someone new, someone who didn't answer to her family's whims. She pulled out her phone and posted a photo on Instagram. Her sitting in the first-class lounge, a mimosa in hand, the airport's floor-to-ceiling windows showing a sliver of blue sky. Uninvited, unbothered, Maui-bound. The post went live and her phone buzzed instantly. Jake, her cousin, who slung coffee at a hipster cafe in Fremont, commented with a string of fire emojis. Her Aunt Linda, the only family member who ever seemed to get her, wrote, "Proud of you, kid." Then came Deanne's text, sharp and predictable. "This is childish. You're skipping your sister's wedding over a guest list?" Emily didn't reply. She sipped her mimosa, letting the bubbles fizz on her tongue. Diane could stew. Claire could spin her Instagram stories. Emily was done playing their game. She boarded the plane, settling into her plush seat, the hum of the engines drowning out the noise in her head. As the plane taxied, she glanced out the window and froze. A man in a black hoodie stood near the tarmac, his face obscured, staring directly at her gate. He didn't move, didn't wave, just watched. Her cybersecurity instincts kicked in. Pattern recognition was her job, and this felt wrong. She blinked, and he was gone, swallowed by the crowd of airport workers. Her heart pounded, but she told herself it was nothing. Stress, maybe. Or the cryptic email still gnawing at her. The plane lifted off, Seattle's gray skyline fading into clouds. Emily leaned back, a ginger ale in hand, and let herself imagine Maui. Warm sand, turquoise waves. A life where she wasn't the family's doormat. She didn't know what waited for her in paradise, or what she'd left behind in Seattle. But for the first time in years, she felt like she was flying toward something, not running away. The plane touched down in Kahului, Maui, just as the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of pink and gold. Emily Harper stepped off the jetway, the warm, salty air hitting her like a wave of relief. After 6 hours in the air, Seattle's gray chill felt like a distant memory. She adjusted her sunglasses, her linen blazer slung over one arm, and let the tropical breeze wash away the sting of Claire's text. Had to make cuts. You're not on it. For the first time in years, Emily wasn't the family fixer, the one cleaning up her sister's messes or soothing her mother's nerves. She was here for herself, and it felt like a rebellion. A resort driver waited in the arrivals hall, holding a sign with her name in crisp black letters. He was a broad-shouldered man with a warm smile, his aloha shirt bright with hibiscus flowers. "Welcome to Maui, Miss Harper," he said, handing her a cold bottle of water. "Your paradise awaits." Emily managed a smile, her first real one in days. Let's hope so. The drive to the resort was a postcard come to life. The overseas highway stretched along the coast, flanked by turquoise waves on one side and lush green cliffs on the other. Palm trees swayed lazily, and the air smelled of salt and plumeria. Emily leaned her head against the window, letting the rhythm of the road lull her. She'd done it. Left Seattle, left Claire's wedding, left the family that had cast her aside, but the cryptic email from last night lingered in her mind. "You're in danger. Don't trust your family," and that man in the black hoodie at the airport, staring from the tarmac. Her cybersecurity instincts, honed from years at Nexus Tech, whispered that something was off. She pushed the thought down. This was her escape, her chance to reclaim her life. No one was going to ruin it. The resort was straight out of a dream. The open-air lobby buzzed with the hum of ceiling fans and the chatter of guests, tropical flowers spilling over every surface. A staff member greeted Emily with a chilled Mai Tai, the glass sweating in the humid air. "Aloha, Miss Harper," she said, slipping a lei of orchids around Emily's neck. "Your suite is ready." Emily sipped the drink, the sweet tang of pineapple cutting through her jet lag. She followed a bellhop through a courtyard where a koi pond shimmered under fairy lights, the sound of waves growing louder with every step. Her suite was unreal. A king-sized bed with crisp white sheets, a stocked minibar, and a balcony overlooking the Pacific. She stepped outside, the ocean stretching endless and blue, and felt her shoulders loosen. This was worth every penny of her savings. She pulled out her phone and snapped a photo of the sunset, the sky ablaze with orange and purple. She posted it on Instagram with a caption, "When life cuts you out, cut to the beach." A small act of defiance, but it felt good. Her phone buzzed as she unpacked, and she braced for another guilt trip from her mother, Diane. Instead, it was a notification from her work email. She hesitated, then opened it on her laptop, expecting a routine update from her boss. The screen flickered, then froze, a single message flashing in bold red letters: "You can't run." Her heart skipped. She tried to close the window, but the system locked up. Her phone vibrated in her hand, the same message now on its screen: "You can't run." Emily's pulse raced. She was a cybersecurity analyst. She knew a hack when she saw one. She yanked the laptop's power cord and reset her phone, her fingers flying over the keys. The message vanished, but her work laptop showed signs of tampering, unfamiliar logins, altered firewall settings. She ran a diagnostic, her mind racing. This wasn't a prank. Someone had targeted her, and they'd done it within hours of her landing in Maui. The encrypted email from Seattle flashed in her memory. "Don't trust your family." Was this connected to Claire's wedding snub? To Ryan? Her sister's shady fiancé? She shook her head. She was on vacation, not a mission. But the unease settled in her gut like a stone. She stepped onto the balcony, gripping the railing as the waves crashed below. The resort glowed under the twilight, guests laughing by the infinity pool, but Emily felt exposed, like eyes were on her from the shadows. She scanned the beach, half expecting to see the man in the black hoodie from the airport. Nothing, just palm trees and moonlight. She forced herself to breathe. She'd deal with this tomorrow. Tonight, she'd sleep in a bed that didn't smell like Seattle's damp, dreaming of a life where she wasn't her family's doormat. The next morning, Emily woke to the sound of waves and the scent of coffee from the suite's Keurig. She ordered room service, fluffy waffles, fresh mango, crispy bacon, and ate on the balcony, the sun warming her skin. For a moment, she felt free, untethered from the weight of Claire's betrayal, but her phone buzzed with a voicemail from Diane, her mother's voice shrill and accusing. "Claire's wedding is a disaster, Emily. Ryan walked out mid-reception. You need to come home. This is your sister." Emily deleted it without listening to the rest. Guilt crept in, but she pushed it down. Claire had made her choice, inviting 250 strangers over her own sister. Diane had backed her, as always. Emily wasn't their superhero anymore. She opened Instagram, where her sunset post had racked up likes. Her cousin Jake, the barista with a knack for memes, had commented, "Slay, queen." Her Aunt Linda wrote, "Proud of you, kid." Emily smiled, but the warmth faded when she saw a text from Jake. "Total chaos here. Ryan bailed, Claire trashed the venue, Diane and Linda fought. Grandma's saying it's cursed without you." Emily laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Cursed without her? They'd cut her out, and now they were scrambling. She typed a quick reply to Jake. "Sounds like their problem. I'm good." Then she blocked Diane's number, her finger lingering over Claire's contact before blocking that too. She wasn't letting them drag her back into their mess. She signed up for a snorkeling tour, determined to embrace her trip. The boat ride was exhilarating, the ocean sparkling under the midday sun. She dove in, the water cool and clear, colorful fish darting around coral reefs. For a moment she forgot Seattle, forgot the hack, forgot everything. Then her oxygen tank sputtered, the air cutting off mid-breath. Panic surged as she clawed for the surface, her lungs burning. She broke through, gasping, and signaled the instructor. He swam over, his face pale. "That shouldn't have happened," he said, checking the tank. "It was inspected this morning." Emily's heart pounded as she treaded water. An accident? Or something else? The hack on her phone, the email, the man at the airport? Her instinct screamed sabotage. She climbed back onto the boat, her hands shaking, and posted a defiant photo of herself in snorkeling gear. "Diving into my own story. No regrets." She wasn't going to let fear win. Back at the resort, she found a note slipped under her suite's door. No envelope, just a folded scrap of paper. She scanned it for fingerprints, her cybersecurity paranoia in overdrive, but it was clean. The message was typed, unsigned. "They're watching you. Leave Maui." Her stomach dropped. She checked the door's lock, intact, no signs of tampering. She called the front desk, but no one had seen anything. The note felt like a physical weight. tying the hack and the snorkeling incident into a knot of dread. She sat on the bed, her laptop open, and traced the encrypted email from Seattle. The server was obscured, but she cracked a layer of encryption, revealing a connection to a domain linked to Ryan's hedge fund, Caldwell Capital. Her breath caught. Ryan, with his slick suits and calculating eyes, had always set her on edge. Was he behind this? And if so, why? She thought of Claire's wedding, the guest list, the overheard conversation. Cut, Emily, she'll be fine. Had the snub been more than a personal betrayal? A setup? Her phone buzzed with an email from Claire, sent to her work account. I'm ruined, Em. Ryan's gone, the venue's suing me for damages. You're my sister, help me. Emily's resolve wavered, the old instinct to fix Claire's messes flaring. But she remembered the save-the-date cards, Claire's casual agreement to cut her. She deleted the email, her jaw tight. Claire could handle her own chaos. Emily spent the afternoon kayaking through mangroves, the paddles slicing through glassy water. She ate poke bowls at a beachside shack, the kind with plastic chairs and checkered tablecloths, and read a thriller by the infinity pool, the pages curling in the humid air. For a few hours, she felt like the woman she wanted to be, free, untethered, alive. But the note and the hack gnawed at her, a shadow over paradise. That evening, she stopped at the resort's beachside bar, ordering a piña colada. The bartender, a local named Kai with a warm smile and sun-bleached hair, chatted her up about snorkeling spots. She laughed, relaxing for the first time all day. Then she took a sip of her drink and froze. A bitter chemical taste coated her tongue. She set the glass down, her heart racing, and pretended to sip again, watching the bar. The man in the black hoodie from the airport stood at the far end, his face shadowed. He turned and vanished into the crowd. Emily slipped away, leaving cash on the counter, and locked herself in her suite. She poured the drink down the sink, her hands trembling. Spiked. She was sure of it. She called Kai, who swore the drink was clean, but Emily wasn't taking chances. She ran a scan on her laptop, finding more evidence of remote access. Someone had tried to breach her firm's client database, data worth millions. Her trip wasn't just a vacation, it was a distraction, keeping her away from Seattle while someone targeted her work. Ryan's hedge fund, the email, the note. It was all connected. She texted Jake. "What do you know about Ryan digging into my work files?" His reply was instant. "Found something weird. He was asking about your firm before the wedding. What's he after?" Emily's mind spun. The wedding snub wasn't just Claire's selfishness. It was a calculated move to isolate her, to keep her distracted while Ryan, or someone working with him, went after Nexus Tech's data. She contacted her firm's IT team, encrypting her communications, and set up a firewall to block further breaches. She wasn't running anymore, she was fighting back. The next morning, a resort staffer knocked on her door, handing her a USB drive. "A guest left this for you," he said, shrugging. Emily's stomach churned. She scanned the drive for malware, then plugged it in. It contained files, financial records, emails, server logs, linking Ryan's hedge fund to a cybercrime ring targeting her firm. One email mentioned her by name. "Keep Harper out of Seattle. She's the key." Her blood ran cold. The wedding, the hack, the note, the spiked drink. They were all part of a larger plan. And Claire, knowingly or not, had played a role. Emily was about to call her boss when her phone rang. It was Linda, her aunt, her voice urgent. "Emily, Claire's spiraling. She's planning a vow renewal to save face, but she's a mess. We need you back." Emily's chest tightened. The old Emily would have booked a flight, ready to fix everything, but she wasn't that woman anymore. "I'm done, Linda," she said. "They made their choice. I'm making mine." She hung up, her resolve hardening. That afternoon she went paddleboarding, hoping the ocean would clear her head. The water was calm, the sun blazing, but halfway out, Her board wobbled, then split. She plunged into the deep, the current pulling her under. She kicked hard, breaking the surface, but the shore was too far. A local fisherman spotted her, hauling her onto his boat. "Your board was cut," he said, showing her the clean slice. "Not an accident." Emily's throat tightened. Someone wanted her dead. Back at the resort, she locked her door, her mind racing. Claire left another voicemail, her voice thick with tears. "I found out Ryan was using me, Em. He's after your company's data. I'm scared. Help me." Emily hesitated, the plea tugging at her heart. But she remembered Claire's betrayal, the guest list, the yoga coach. She deleted the message. She wasn't Claire's savior anymore. That night, Emily woke to a creak in her suite. The balcony door was open, the curtains swaying. She grabbed a wine bottle from the minibar, her heart pounding, and crept to the bathroom, locking herself in. Footsteps shuffled outside, then stopped. She triggered the suite's panic alarm, and the intruder fled, leaving a faint scent of cigarette smoke. Emily stayed awake until dawn, the wine bottle clutched in her hand. The wedding snub was a setup, she realized. Ryan had used Claire to keep her distracted, and now he, or his associates, were coming for her. She contacted her firm's IT team, working remotely to secure the compromised data. She leaked false information to Ryan's cybercrime ring, setting a trap that would expose them. As the sun rose, she stood on her balcony, the ocean glittering below. She wasn't just surviving, she was fighting back, choosing herself in a way she never had before. Months later, Emily stood on a Maui beach, the sand warm under her feet. She'd stayed on the island, taking a remote role with Nexus Tech after her takedown of Ryan's cyber crime ring earned her a promotion. Claire's influencer career had crumbled, her sponsors fleeing after the wedding scandal. Diane had left voicemails, admitting she'd favored Claire to keep peace, but Emily hadn't responded. She'd scattered the crumpled save-the-date card into the ocean, letting go of her family's hold. She'd signed up for a coding boot camp in Maui, building a new life with new friends, including Kai, the bartender turned dive instructor who'd become a quiet presence in her days. They'd shared sunset drinks, hinting at something more. Her phone buzzed with a final post, a photo of her new home, a small cottage with a view of the Pacific, captioned, "Family's what you build, not what you're born into." Emily raised a glass to the horizon, the waves whispering her freedom. She'd been cut from Claire's guest list, but she'd written her own story, one of resilience, defiance, and a life she'd chosen for herself. No regrets.